All right. We have our section on public communication, so you are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on the items listed on this agenda when they are called. Public comments on the items not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. We do have a couple of written requests at this time, so we'll go over those. Are there any folks outside of the written request that would like to speak at this time? No. Okay, so we have Dale McDowell.
Mayor Dibble and council members, I'd like to make a couple of comments here on the water loss at the water department. It says we lose 1 million gallons of water a day. Comes out, what, 365 million gallons it goes for the year. An indication is that part of that cost of that is going to be borne back by the ratepayers. But the amount that we lose needs to be verified. All we have is from somebody that made a study and said, well, yeah, this is how much water we lose. So you made one adjustment or one correction for recalibrated your meters, and you find 100 million, over 100 million gallons of water there. That's about 30% of that. So what we need to do is to verify what our actual losses are. So are all the meter connections, all the water connections in the city all have meters? That's one place we could look at, and then we need to verify actually how much water we're losing. Maybe we're not losing that much water. So just think that we should do a little further study on that, and not just, rather than to look after it, just pass the cost of that on to the ratepayers.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Dale. Appreciate your comments. Next we have Pat Miller.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilmen. I come before you tonight to urge you to look very closely at putting a potential tax increase on the ballot. And my concern is that the citizens of Yuba City, Sutter County have assessed themselves to fix our levees, and we're going to pay that assessment for the next 25 years. Levy District 1 and 9 are talking about joining together and forming another assessment district and increasing our assessment there to maintain our recently rehabilitated sections of levy, which I'm not sure why they have to have a lot more money, but that's in the works. Our state government continues to tax us. The housing prices and rental prices in this area are going up. So the cost to the citizens is increasing, and I would really encourage you to consider that very closely. And I know that the potential increase is being driven by the pension costs. We currently have an unfunded liability of over $73 million, and the cost per individual, how much out of each dollar they're paid, is going up also. And tonight you're going to approve, I think, over $1 million for the rest of this year and next year in increased costs. And I didn't look back to see how much you have done in the past. Each time you do that, of course, that increases the pension costs for the city. And I know the city is short of funds for other things, but something needs really to be done about the pensions. And I hope the organization of city governments is looking into that, and county governments and the state, so that that can be reduced and we can get back on an even keel here. So think about it very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Next, we have Rick Jimerson.
Good evening and thank you. I just became aware this afternoon about a meeting that's going to take place at the Planning Commission next week, and I wanted to address that. And so since it was late and I've only spent about 4 months researching all of this, I put that together in a manner that I'm going to have to read it, so I'm going to apologize that I won't be able to make eye contact as I go through. Next Wednesday at the Planning Commission, Recycling Industries' request to extend their permit is on the agenda. This is an attempt to piggyback off their current permit to increase the volume and type of waste they may take. Few people understand that extending this permit allows them to bypass serious environmental and other reviews of the new project. I, along with many other residents, have many concerns regarding a use permit extension request by Recycling Industries. I've been told or understand through Orlando that rubber stamping extensions of permits is a common practice. I ask why. Because after a 4-year period of time, every permit should be reviewed to see if there are changes to be considered. The approval of this permit raises many questions regarding its being approved the first time. Mitigated environmental studies in this type of facility are not common and perhaps unheard of. Recycling Industries have not acted on the permit in the last 4 years, and by approving an extension, they are actually attempting to increase tonnage and type of waste allowed. This is not in the scope of the project's submitted cover page. It seems that the planning department allows people to file what I would consider false information on project scope. In my industry and all others, that type of submission would be considered fraudulent when signed. They have filed a new use permit which would supersede the UP 12-01 and have outlined a proposal to expand their facility from 3 to 4 acres, increase the amount of materials that they could accept from 100 tons per day to 100 tons per day to 300 tons per day. And that's an increase of more than 6,000 tons a month. It'd be a removal of any limitations to putrid material. Putrid is what it sounds like, smelly. And a removal of any limitations on the type of delivery, which would include commercial. Environmental, traffic, fire, and quality of life issues and concerns need to be considered on every application. Each applicant should meet the same requirements, and there were obviously some that were bypassed when this permit was issued 4 years ago. To not submit it to close examination will confirm that not only were people not doing their job 4 years ago, I believe it's not necessary that they're doing it now, okay? And also, I understood that this type of thing would allow where the public would not be able to have any input, rather with the commission or at a council meeting. And I find that to be really hard to understand as a citizen. So I'm here this evening to let you know this is an important issue. And I want to be certain you're aware of the ramifications that will result if this permit extension is approved. And I believe that by stating the facts and concerns for you to examine here tonight, you and I are not violating the intent of Mr. Gale's email to you on March the 26th that encouraged you to not become overtly involved in this issue, as it may lead to a need to recuse yourself should it come to a council vote. I spent quite a few months gathering the material. I have all the documents from not only here, the county, the state. It's all in my possession at my office. I'll be glad to go over it with anyone at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And those are all of the written requests that I have for tonight. So